Hey, this is Max with my week one check-in after one day of working on the very first Gauntlet AI project, recreating Slack. Um, so the basis of this project is trying as fast as we can to recreate as much of Slack using AI first methods. A big part of that is looking over the requirements, identifying users, and creating a PRD, product requirement document. This kind of serves as letting the AI know what you're trying to build, as well as trying to keep in mind all the requirements that we're trying to do, because a lot of this is going to be feeding the AI step by step so it can generate the code and building up features, and testing them as we go, making sure that we don't break anything as we add in new code. One of the big things I recognized was that I'm trying to get authentication, and real-time messaging, user presence, is going to be using an external OAuth provider, and then some sort of external server to be feeding up the data for the messages, the channels, and then some sort of WebSocket platform to do that real-time user presence and the real-time messaging and notifying everyone. So what I did was a little bit different. I was trying to stick as close to some of the Microsoft stack. I know that they have a lot of out-of-the-box features that we can use for some of this. So I started by scaffolding up a new Blazor project, setting up a GitHub repo, and a CI/CD pipeline that automatically runs whenever new code's checked in, and then it deploys to Azure in a static web app. So I had to set up the resource groups, the actual apps themselves, the pub sub service for doing that socketing later, and then a SQL database that we're going to connect to be able to store and retrieve all those messages. Using my IDE, I was using Visual Studio, as well as Cursor, which is kind of going to be like the basis of where we're drawing a lot of our AI improvements from and generating all the code for us. So when you feed in the PRD document, you can use that as a context to start writing out the code, and then you can tell it to design feature by feature and then automatically add that into your code base. So I kind of use this in conjunction with Visual Studio because I found that it was running into the weeds a lot with dependencies and trying to change the target framework versions, and that was screwing stuff up. But I'm really good at doing dependencies on Visual Studio, and it's really nice for doing that. And then it now also has GitHub Copilot built in, which is another resource when you run into bugs or you need to generate code, to grab from that. And that kind of does the same thing as Cursor. Used some V0, but since I was scaffolding from templates provided by Visual Studio and Microsoft, I didn't have as much need to do scaffolding with V0 as much from that. As far as the app, you can see here it automatically gets deployed, has HTTPS enabled, using Azure AD authentication. The login, logout works. So sign me out, but it saw like I was already signed in, and it knew as soon as I got there, and so it persists tokens and everything. Azure AD tenant, I set up user flows. So if I want to like use another account, I can create one. You can sign up with your email at Microsoft. And then this will email you a code, so you have your two-factor authentication built in. OAuth provider shows what claims you're getting, and then you can set up like a display name. It'll be Mad Max #2. And it grabs that and displays it on the top. I have some test pages that are set up that are only going to show up when you're doing a development build. Since this is released and supposedly in prod, I can go to like test message here, and it's not going to work. It's probably going to give me 404. But I do have it set up where I can run it locally. I have it separated into 2 projects, and so first I need to run the API project. So this is kind of the back end that talks with the front end and the server. The front end is all running Blazor, so it doesn't actually have any like direct lines to the database. There we go. So now you can see it's up and running, localhost 5256. So I can go back over to Visual Studio. And I might be out of memory. Oh. There we go. It's thinking. I do also have a shared library, so that's for data models that get shared with the API and the front-end client. This is usually much faster, but I think with OBS running, it's just getting a little sloggy. So this is going to be log in. Send some new code. So now we can go to one of those dev pages. So message test. Test message, more like. And then if I open my console, I can see when I test the connection, connection's true, and then saving, it should be able to hit the database, but because of the firewall rules that I have up right now, it's going to say public network access is set to yes, and that's just because if once this is deployed behind the firewall, we won't have to worry about any public-facing rules. But yeah, for now that we have message persistence and database connectivity, and hooking up the pub/sub service for WebSockets. Yep, that's all for now, but hopefully by the end of the week I have a fully functioning Slack app. Thanks.